This is our third and final recording about doubt. The doubt that is an obstacle to practice, doubt in the teaching of the Buddha, in the truth of the Dhamma, and in the Sangha, the one who has seen Dhamma. We've already given an introduction to the necessary condition for doubt, which is our own wrong views, our wrong ideas, and being sticky to them. The more we're able to let go of our own ideas, and the more we're able to be soft and let go of the ideas to which we cling, the easier it will be to see the truth and see results of our practice, and the easier it will be to let go of doubt. We also talked about the difference between having a correct and justified doubt in a practice that does not lead to removing suffering, that does not lead to removing kilesa, and unjustified doubt, which is the real obstacle to practice. Unjustified doubt when we are on the right path, but that we keep wanting to go our own direction, go the direction that we're used to going instead of following the path. And so now finally I just wanted to talk a little bit about the different ways that this third type of doubt can manifest itself and how to deal with it when it comes. Because it's known as a hindrance. It's called a hindrance in the practice. So it's something that really gets in the way of practicing correctly. Therefore, it's worthwhile looking at how to remove it, how to deal with it when it comes. And it can come in three main forms. One is having doubt in the truth of the teaching. One is having doubt in one's teacher. And one is doubt in oneself. That is, in one's ability to practice. The first two are relatively simple to deal with because it's as simple as when we follow the practice, we do see results. Therefore, we know it works. Therefore, we know what is told to us is true. Somebody tells us something in theory, like for example, they will tell you that it's possible to remove anger, it's possible to remove sadness. And before, we've never done that before. And in the beginning, it's just theory. But if we follow the instructions for how to work and how to practice to remove anger, to remove sadness, then we will see that it works and that it is true what they tell. We will see this for ourselves. We are told in the beginning, for example, that the mind is an automatic machine, when all the time we thought it was us. But if we just watch our mind for even 5 minutes, 10 minutes, we realize that we're not in control of it, that we don't know what thoughts are going to come in our mind, and that our mind is very often our worst enemy. The more we practice and the more we watch, the more we understand and see how much our mind is an automatic machine, and that it's not us. So these things become something that we can realize and experience in practice rather than just being pure theory. So if we see that the advice of our teacher is true, and we see that the practice shows us what is real and what does turn out to be true, although we've never seen it before, then in these two ways it's quite difficult to keep having doubt in the truth of the Dhamma or one's teacher. Because, again, to go back to our example of going to Montreal, if you've been driving just a little while and you've seen 2 or 3 signposts for Montreal, then it's kind of crazy or bizarre to have doubt that this actually is the path to Montreal and that Montreal is there. And also it would be really bizarre to have doubt that the person who gave you directions was a cheat or that they were a liar or that they don't know what they're talking about. Because what they tell you, you see it. So the third kind of doubt that is a little bit more subtle and more difficult to deal with for most people is doubt in oneself. So this doubt is usually something that arises on the back of another kilesa, on the back of another fault that we haven't removed, or on the back of laziness or carelessness in our practice, not working correctly. Because if we're practicing properly, watching our mind and removing kilesa, putting qualities, then there is no reason to have doubt in ourselves, or there's no base. Already our mind is clear, we have happiness and joy from inside because of our own practice. We see the results ourselves. There's no reason to have doubt. But it's when we don't practice properly that now doubt comes on top of the mistake that we've done, and it says, oh, you are no good, you're not able, it's not possible, it's useless, you can't do it. So just because of even one little kilesa or carelessness or one mistake, now according to this doubt, all the practice that you have done so far is useless and you go back to square one. So obviously here I'm not talking about killing somebody or breaking any of the 5 precepts, because that's just such a hugely damaging thing to do, and it kind of does mean that you go back to square one. It's like you throw away all the work that you've done. So I'm not talking about a big wrong action, like deliberately breaking one of the 5 precepts. I'm talking about just not practicing properly, or not keeping a resolution well, or making a mistake, or just not being present enough, or having a lot of a particular kilesa come again and again and again, even though we try to remove it, not being able to remove it properly, things like that. So there are a couple of ways that we can look at it when it comes to this. One is to just take a look back at how we have changed, how we have progressed, because even if we've made a mistake now, or even if it's not going well at the moment, the reality is that it doesn't mean we're back at square one. Still, we have understood things that we didn't see before. We see wider, see more than we used to see. So the example that Ajahn likes to give is that in the beginning, when you know nothing, meaning when you're just in moha all the time, when you are in an automatic mind, doing automatic thinking, talking, acting all the time, then it's like you're in a little village in a valley, living all your life in this little village in the valley. You see nothing of the world. You know nothing except your tiny village. But if you start to climb a mountain nearby, the higher you climb, the more you see. So sometimes it looks like the top of the mountain is lost in clouds, or sometimes it feels like we will never reach, or sometimes we feel lost, or sometimes we take a wrong turn and we wonder if we will ever be able to get to the top of the mountain. But if we just turn around for a moment and look back and see, hey, I see so far, it's true, I came all of this way, so of course I can go the same distance again. I just have to keep going. Another thing that we can note when doubt in oneself arises like this is that if our aim is absolutely to reach the top of the mountain and we have no option of going back, then we really don't have time to waste being doubtful about whether we can reach the top of the mountain or not, because we just don't have a choice to reach the top of the mountain. Another example is to look at the difference between somebody who goes to practice building a shelter in the forest for himself for fun, and somebody who is lost in the forest and has no choice but to build a shelter or else he will die. The one who is just practicing nearby his house to build a shelter is, first of all, much more likely to build it in a kind of careless way that might leave a hole in the roof to let rain in. And if then the rain comes in through the hole, then it's very easy for him to say, oh, I don't know if I'm doing this right, I can't do it, I'm not very good at building a shelter, maybe I should just go home. Because he knows that he always has his house to go back to anyway. But the one who is lost in the woods and has no choice but to spend the night there, first of all, he has to put a lot of effort to make sure that he doesn't leave any holes for the rain to come in. And secondly, if through lack of knowledge or through not knowing how to build a shelter or just through making a small mistake, there is rain that comes in, he's not going to think, oh, I'm not able, I can't do it, I should just go home, because he can't go home, he has no home to go to. So he just has to go right away, waste no time, and cover the hole. So it's like that with doubt. It comes in when we have left a hole in the roof, that is when we are being careless or made a mistake. But if the rain starts coming into our shelter, that is if we start having doubt, Now we have to ask ourselves, okay, so is it acceptable for me then to just give up completely and say, okay, yes, I will follow the doubt and practice is not for me, I'm not able, so I'm just going to go back to being the way I was. Is that acceptable for us? Do we accept to do that? Or do we see that, actually, no, I can't accept to continue being the way I am. I can't accept to go back to the way I was. I can't accept to give up. It's unacceptable. It's impossible. So that means it's like I'm in the situation where I'm lost in the forest and there's a hole coming in my shelter. What am I doing waiting around here having doubt? I have to go and cover the shelter and just get on with it. So if things aren't going well, if I've made a mistake, or if I'm having difficulty in the practice, it doesn't matter because I don't have a choice. I just cannot accept to continue on in this way. Going back again to the example of going to Montreal, if I don't have a car and I don't have a bicycle, but I absolutely have no choice but to go to Montreal, I don't have the option of staying where I am, well then I will walk. It will take longer. If I break one of my legs, I will crawl. I have no choice but to get to Montreal. So, to summarize, first having an analytical mind to see how we've been able to move before to get to where we are and how therefore we will be able to move the same way to continue. Secondly, having strong determination and renunciation both together. The fact that it is unacceptable to go back to the way we were, the fact that it's unacceptable to give up, both of these make it impossible for doubt to remain. So these are the elements that we need to cultivate, to grow in ourselves in order that doubt has no place to remain.